Hello everybody and welcome back. It is Jeff again, and I am here to show you guys a game called Mind Machine Interface. Now this was sent to me from Fernando Sanchez. He sent us my YouTube channel and said to take a look at this indie programming puzzle game he made similar to Human Resource Machine. It's going to be available on Steam. Currently there is a demo available. I'll tell you, the link is on the Steam page for the demo. It's an interesting link because it's just a link to a Dropbox executable file, so take that as you will, the dangers that may come with that. I personally took the danger, downloaded the game, and am playing it, and this is awesome. And I want to show you guys a little bit about what this game is. It doesn't come with that many instructions. There's a couple instructions in here and there that you can actually find, but this is the interface right here. This is the whole screen. It's very confusing. Turns out these are the levels that you can play. I have gone through the top level, the top layer of levels. I'm over here to file recovery tool, and this game is a lot of fun. So basically what you do is you start at the beginning, click the screen and reset, which is number 1 puzzle. And then over here on the right, you have this N1, N2, and N3. And these are the different, basically, programs that you can have. So you can program 3 different iterations of this puzzle in case you get stuck and want to start over but not really lose what you've already done. So I've already done 1 and 2, and I'll show you guys those in a minute. But we'll start with 3, which is not a clean slate. It was it actually copied over what I had in my original one, but this is the board that you start with. And essentially the point is to get a counter from this red input right here where my mouse is all the way down here to this white output. Now the counter, when you start, I'm gonna just step through this to start. As you can see, I hit the space bar to run my program. I don't have a program yet. There's a 0 that came up on that red counter. It starts out with a counter of 0, and you need to get that 0 all the way to the bottom. And you actually have to mimic this top right screen here down here on the bottom right. So basically I want to have my 0 square is going to be a white square, and I want it to dump over into here. Now you can go through and find out how to play some of this game by hitting this like question mark button, and it goes through and tells you how to play the game. Welcome to the chromatic supercomputer. This machine draws images to the bottom right screen, etc. So they call it Oz, and this is how you play the game. It's is and Oz. So you want your Oz to match what your is. Actually, you want your Oz to match what the Oz says it's supposed to be based on what's happening in the is. You'll see that as you get through the game. It's a little confusing, but it's man, it is a lot of fun. It's very difficult and challenging because you have to match. There's 640 blocks, and you have to match every single one of them. Now, the way that you do some of this stuff, I just exited out on accident. I'll go back into that. The way you do some of this stuff is you can go through the help by continuing to click on the question mark, and down here are your tools that you have available. Currently, only the ones with letters are available in certain stages. So I only have this W, which is an adder, so I can add to my counter. I have a B, which is a breakpoint. I'll tell you, I haven't used the breakpoint yet. And I have an X, which is the eraser, which deletes the counter. I haven't used that yet either. These first couple levels are supposed to be simple. And what you need to do is you need to bring arrows out of these boxes to tell things where to go, and you do that with the number key. So standard number 1 is your generic, if I put a 1 right here, it tells me I'm going to want to send whatever comes into here down. So I can do that all throughout these to get this to go all the way to my exit. And you'll see if I run this program, my 0 went all the way to the exit, but that's it. The program stopped because it had nothing left to do. It took my counter from the input, it took it to the exit. If I stop this by hitting space again, I can right click on these to delete them, and I will also tell you what you can do to delete is you can click and drag, or I can even hold 1 and drag down, and it sends whole lines over there for it to make it easier, which is nice. So the number 1, however, is not the only option you have. If you hit numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5, they give you different things. Like a 2 will give you a red arrow. That'll actually come into play later. It's about more choosing, like if this thing is red based on a certain block, you can move just certain blocks out of there, but you'll get to that later. 3 is a blue arrow, 4 is a light blue arrow, but 5 is this fuchsia arrow. The fuchsia arrow is important because that's like a copier. So it basically makes a copy of what you already have. So if I take this and I drag this all the way around with my 1 and I hit the space again, you see the 0 goes out. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to copy the 0 and have it run through again because I need to add to this counter and have it actually continue to go. So what you can do is you can do a fuchsia arrow here, as you can see, and if I hit the space bar to let it run, you guys can see what happens. My 0, let me slow that down with the F1. If I hit space and F1, I can actually step through this program. So you see the 0 goes down, to the right, and once, oops, I hit it too fast. But once it hits this block right here, it splits. My 1 0 that wasn't copied goes to the exit, and then a 0 moves up to the top. What I can do with that is put this adder in here, and right now it's 0 in the middle of it. It'll add nothing to it. All I do is hover over it and press whatever number I want to add to it. So if I'm hovering over it and I hit a 1, it's got a 1 in there. Now, careful, if I hit another 1, it'll put an 11 in there and you can backspace. You got to be really careful, because especially if you need to use 1. If I wanted to now drag out of this block, my instincts are telling me to press 1 and drag it to the top. It added my arrows, but it also added that extra 1, so you got to be really careful in there. So I'm going to backspace that to a 1 and go over here and send that back to the beginning. So what you'll see that'll happen is, let's just step through this. My 0 will go through. 1 0 goes to the right. The other 0 went up, got a 1 added to the counter, and runs the circle again. So now my 1 goes through to the right to my output. As you can see, I have 2 squares in my Oz, and the other 1 goes up, gets a 1 added to it, the 2 comes out, and it keeps running on through. So if I just let this thing run, it will actually, sometimes it freezes up a little bit and doesn't actually run the program, but if you exit back out and go right back in, I can hit space, and you can see this thing will just run. It'll work, it'll run, it'll take forever, but it'll get to the end. Now you can speed this up. If you have a program that works, all you do is when it's running, just hit F3 and it'll zip through your program and finish. As you can see, it just finished out the grid. Now it does 2 different tests, because that'll come into play later. This first level is pretty simple. What happens is it'll throw different ises at you that you've not seen before and make sure that your code works to actually do those ises as well. So the is my input. So if my is this one is just a pure white screen, you can't really change it too much. So there's only like 2 tests. It just runs it twice. But in future ones, you'll see that it'll actually change your input. So you can't just program something just to match a specific input. It's got to actually work for everything that you're doing here. Now, a couple other tricks with this, as I can show you, is notice how I have this thing running in a big circle, and it kind of takes some extra time. So what I can do is I've made my first one. If you just put a copier that goes to the left into my counter and then move it back to the right, it'll zip through it'll essentially do the exact same thing that I've already done. As you can see, let's just run this quickly and step this. It's a lot to take in, but it's actually moving to the left, a copy of it, so it's adding. So then my first 0 is going down on through. Then it copied that 0 over to the left, which added to it, and then it forced it right back to the right. So now it's a 1 shot right back over to the right, and it actually works, and it's a little faster than the other direction was. But this is a cleaner way that you can do this code. However, if you want to get a little fancier with this, I've made an N2 in this particular project that it looks a little confusing, but what this thing is doing is it's going to send my 0 out. It's going to make a copy of the 0 to get a 1. It's going to send the 1 down and copy it over to the right as well. So I got a 0 and a 1 going down, but I got a 2 now being copied because it's been added to twice. And it's going to run through to the right, also get copied again, go up and around, and then up here in the top right, this 3 that's coming back toward the center, that's where my split is. So I'm starting every iteration of this, I'm actually going to end up sending in 3 different values, and it's going to speed up the program. It doesn't really necessarily matter if you just want to accomplish the goal, but it's just a different way that you can go about doing things. Notice in my Oz, I skipped the first block because that 0, the 1 and the 2 made it in there before the 0. Notice this thing starts counting at 0, doesn't start counting at 1, so the top left corner of this is a 0. The 0 is not full. You don't have to do this in order. As long as whatever's in the counter gets to the output, it'll put that in your Oz. You can do the earlier ones later, and you'll see when I go to the next step, my 0 is going to dump in, and then it's going to fill up the 0. So now it's going to go through and add these up. And as you can see, I think it's actually doubling up on some of the numbers. So I've lost some efficiency in this, but either way, I can run this and it's going to fill up the whole thing and it's still going to work. So that's the basic concept of what this is. It's literally a visual interface for programming and filling up a counter. But you'll see how quickly this game steps up in its challenge level, its difficulty level. The very next one is calibration test. And if I go into here, let's go into a clean slate. Notice this one is a bunch of different colors. So if I hover over here, you can see it's on my input, it shows me corresponding on my output. It's pretty nice. But my top left is a 0. My top left 0 is a red square, which needs to correspond to this red square over here. The number 1 is a blue square, which needs to correspond to this blue square. Number 2 is this light blue square, it needs to correspond to this light blue square. How are we going to do this? This is a little bit more confusing, way more confusing than the last one. It's not just a white path anymore. If you look down here, I've added 2 extra blocks. I've now got this one here, which is a subtractor. So just like the adder, I can put in a number and it'll subtract from it. And I also have this one, which is a printer. So what the printer does is it changes the color when the input goes into, when the counter goes into it, it'll change the color to something else. So essentially, if I take this counter block and put it here and just have this thing run out over to this, I can hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this and it'll paint this output to a different color. So that's pretty cool, because now what I can do is I need to basically start with a printer. I need to print something in red. So let's make it printed red, because my 0 square is a red. When my 0 square is a red, I can then, I don't know if this will work. Sometimes if you copy with the fuchsia arrow out of a block that does something, it doesn't always copy it. This one coincidentally did. It didn't even turn it red. It ignored this thing that happened here. Notice I got a red 0 to the right, but a white 0 on the bottom. So that might be actually a pretty good way to do this. This is not how I did it before. I think this gets a little bit more screwed up if I go here now, because my number 1 square is going to be blue. So I need to add, if I change this to blue and then put like an adder on it over here and put an arrow and put 1, will this work? So that'll work. Notice it gets stuck. These things are, it's continually adding. It's sitting there every cycle, so it keeps adding. So that's a level of difficulty. If you have 2 of these blocks that run into each other, it'll add their numbers together as well. So you have to do this in a way that not only doesn't have these blocks colliding with each other, you have to do it in a systematic way. I don't know if I'm explaining it well, but hopefully visually you're just seeing this and you're really intrigued, because I sure am. I can't stop playing the first couple the levels. I had to get through them, and now I'm on the last one in the top row, and I just want to keep playing. But I needed to make this video to show you guys this amazing game, because this really needs to get out there for people to play. If you like puzzles like me, then you're gonna love this game. I'm addicted to it, so I gotta give you some props, Fernando Sanchez. This game is fantastic. I can't wait for the full release to come out. I'm gonna keep playing this demo. I don't know how long this demo goes, but let's work together. Let's get through this one. I'll show you the next puzzle real quick, just what it is. I don't want to spoil it all for you, but you guys can see how much fun this is. So if we go through and I'm adding 1 to that counter, let's then send this to my output here and see if this works. My 1 went to the output. This one did not go to the output though. Are these going to collide? They are not going to collide. But notice I got my 0 and my 1. But what if I copy out of this block? And this is what I was talking about. Notice it didn't copy out of that block. For whatever reason, it's ignoring that, and it's not actually copying out of that block. So you have to actually do this thing a little bit differently and space this out in a little bit of a grander way. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all my work that I have thus far and try to do this from memory, even though I'm not 100% certain that I'm going to be able to do this from memory. If I start, however, with a... How about we do this? We are going to start with... I don't want to start with an adder. I'm gonna bring it out to the left over here. So this is going to be my 0 row. My 0 row, I want to go in and come out with a... Basically, I'll just put this down here. I want this to turn. I can hold U and click this button as well. And I want this to turn red, because I know my 0 row is going to be red. And I want it to come out of here and leave. And notice I hit the 1 on this to drag that arrow down, and it changed this color back to what the 1, if I hit 1, it goes white. So you got to watch out for that to happen. But what I want to do is I want to copy this. So we're going to go 5. We're going to put an adder in here. I'm going to add 1 to this adder. And out of this adder, I'm going to end up copying it from right here as well. But out of this adder, what I want to do is I want to add another one of these blocks. Actually, I probably should move this thing down. And my second row, I want to be blue. So this one, I'm going to add another adder in over here. We're going to do a 1. I'm going to come straight on down from here, just like I did the last one. And From here, I'm going to copy as well. But from here, I want to do the light blue one. So if I add another one of these printer blocks, I want to turn this to light blue. And then this other one, I think I just want to be white. And then the cycle starts over. So I should get a red, a blue, a light blue, and then a white. And so I should have a white coming out over here. I think I need to put an adder on here real quick. Add another one to it because it's going to be my number 4 coming out of here. And then I think if I could just go like this should work. Oh, they got stuck. I forgot to add. If you hit escape too many times, it goes out. I forgot to get these things out of here. But basically, look, I comes down. I have my 0, 1, 2, and 3. Notice my 3 is going to be the first one, but it's still going to count it as 3. So that was great. That was perfect. Now the problem is, I need to start the cycle over again because right now I just run it and I'm just going to run it and it's going to stop. There's nothing else to happen. It's done. So I need to, out of this one, which is my number 3, I basically need to start this thing over, and it needs to start by copying here. I actually need to add another 1 to this because I can't send my 3 back up and around because it'll then make a 3 red. I need to add 1 more to this, so I can just go like this. Put a W, add 1 more to this, go up and around and start back over. This should just continue to run the loop. Let me escape back out of this, get back into the calibration test here again. So this is my code. Sometimes it's just, if you cycle it through and you've run out of the blocks, so you didn't have it starting over, then you can't just run the program again. You have to leave and come back for it to start. But now it should, notice it filling up my Oz from my is. So this is going to work, and I'm going to hit F3, and it's going to run through this really fast. It's going to run through a couple iterations of things, and it's going to tell me test is complete. Let's see if that's how I did it before. Very, very similar to it before. Actually, this one, it looks like this is my first run at this one. I actually got this working. It looks like I did the same type of concept, but at the end, I added 4 to start the process over again. So the same concept, I used my lower number and then I added 4 to it instead of just adding 1 and running the gamut again. But either way, it's the exact same concept in the way that it works. I'm just going to show you guys the next level. I'm not going to go through the next level with you. I might show you, I might leave my code on the screen, but if you look at the hue corrector, this one's fun. This adds a couple more blocks, which are blocks that are color sensors. They basically sense the color of the coordinates associated with the counter on the block. And, oh no, this one senses the color of the block that comes through, and you can actually push out the light blue ones, the red ones, the dark blue ones, etc., a different direction instead of having them all go through one path. You can set it up so my reds go to the right, my blues go to the left, etc. It also introduces which other one is it here? There's my printer. There's my printer. Oh, no, this one just introduces the printer, so that's fine. Or introduces that selector block. Because if you look at my input compared to my output, notice my input, the 0 block is red, but my output block is light blue. My input blocks over here, number 3 is a light blue, and the output block is a dark blue. My input block of 135 is dark blue, but I need to output a red. So you actually have to change the color of the blocks based on this concept right here with the color sensor. And I will just show you, instead of trying to rebuild this thing, I'll show you my code in case you guys get stuck. This is my code. What it's doing is it's taking this D, it's going to print the block. Oh yeah, here we go. So I was right. D, there is a new block that's added, and it prints the block not with a chosen color like U does. That's why I got confused. They look very similar. Like this U one here, if I put this in, I can just select what I want this to be colored as. This one, however, it takes the input coordinate. So if it's the counter is 0 when it goes through this block here, it's gonna turn the block red. Problem is, I don't want my input to be red. I need to then take, so that's what I have up here. It goes in with a 0. This will turn it red because, let's see if we can do this. It's going to turn it red when it comes out of there because of the fact that it was, do you see that 0 is red down below it? Because the coordinate 0 is red. I'm then going to go into my color changer, and it's looking for either red, dark blue, or light blue. It's a red one, so what it's going to do is it's going to send it down the bottom, which goes to a printer and changes it to light blue, and then it's going to go to the exit, and before it goes to the exit, it's going to copy it again, add 1 to it, and start the cycle over. So the next cycle, it's got a 1 in there. 1 is also a red block. It's going to do the exact same, follow the exact same scheme. 2 is also a red block. It's going to follow the same thing. This is where it gets a little different, though. So now it's a 3. The third block is a dark blue block. So you'll see it's going to color it dark blue. Or it's going to color it light blue at the top because it needs to become a dark blue, though. So it was light blue, and then it went out the light blue path into a color detector that changes it to a dark blue and then sends it out and copies it and goes again. Now it's interesting because there's 4 colors and you have to have an input on one of those color selector blocks. So you only really have 3 output options. So you have to find a way, and as you can see from my code, I have 2 of those things selected. You have to find a way for it to actually be able to encompass that 4th selection. You can see my code. You could use this for this level if you wanted to. You can use this as a, hey, I got stuck. I want to look at what Jeff did with this. There you go. You can see it. I can just show you. I'm going to run through it. You're going to see that it runs through the whole thing. It does it appropriately. And then it's going to run through more schemes to make sure it actually works for multiple different pieces of code, which it does, and it's fine. I don't know how long this demo is. I just hit something on my computer. I don't know how long this demo is. We got rotation module, air sequencer. I've got both of these done. I am on file recovery. As you can see, completed false, but these other 2, oh no, air sequencer. I must be on air sequencer still. So rotation module I got, which is the next one. Air sequencer is what I am up to next. Guys, I highly suggest you go check out this game. If you like puzzles like I do, it's a lot of fun. I will have the links in the description of this to go check it out, and if you guys want, I will make a little series on this, on solving some of these problems. I don't want to give the whole thing away for you, though. I want you guys to actually be able to go through and play it and enjoy. Go get the game, check it out, wait for the release. This is great, guys. Hope you guys have fun. I will see you guys in the next episode.